What can you tell us about the possibilities involving Urban and Washington?
Look, I think it's remote. I think he's out there as a factor now with a couple weeks to go before this coaching carousel starts to spin, and we've heard him connected in Dallas via different conversations there if they decide to move on from Jason Garrett. But the connections in Washington, he coached Alex Smith at Utah. I mean, like, the connections run deep. But I think it would be surprising at this point if that's the way Washington went. But he's definitely at least trying to make sure that he's a factor in these conversations.
If I broadened it from Washington and just made it an NFL coaching job, what are you hearing from people about that possibility?
I think there are teams that are interested in talking to him to find out whether he's interested, what it would look like if he was, and what kind of ideas he would have that would kind of help, jumpstart offenses, et cetera. But I still think there are other candidates out there more likely to get these jobs.
Quickly, I want to come back to Laura on this as well. If you weren't with us yesterday, Laura, not only did you cover him for a long time, but you worked for him at one time. Do you get the sense that if he does come back to coaching, it would be in the NFL because his entire career has been in college?
I think if he gets back to coaching, it would be in college. And I was even convinced this time last year that he wouldn't get back into coaching at all. I believe what he said. You asked if there was a little fire behind this smoke. If there is, it's like the tiniest little campfire for like a little tiny mouse, because it's just not that much, I think, behind all of this. I think he's interested in listening, almost like what Dan said there, where the teams are interested in listening. That's how Urban's approaching this. I think he likes the fact that people are talking about him. He's out there. He's in the mix. And I do think he's intrigued by the fact, Dan, that he could maybe do this. I think he wants to know if he could do it. He wants to at least entertain the idea.
That's an interesting point. The question of can I? I've accomplished everything else that I've ever wanted to. I think we have to be aware, though, like, Urban's been really great as a college football coach because he's picked the people. I want that quarterback. I want that offense. You don't do that in the NFL. They pick the players for you. The second thing is this. His scheme, maybe he is wondering, I wonder if I could take my scheme that dominated college football and go dominate the NFL, because we're seeing a lot more of college football traits scheme-wise in the NFL right now. But he's been around 18 to 22-year-olds his whole life. You think some 30-year-old making $10 million is going to listen to him? Unlikely.
Swagger, you weren't here yesterday. I haven't heard your perspective on this. What would you think of the idea of Urban Meyer in Washington or any NFL team?
To me, Washington makes sense. I think it's highly likely. Look, first of all, the visibility, Dan, I read into that a little bit more. Maybe I'm different, maybe I'm over dramatic, but when you in the owner's box and we know they looking for a head coach and you're Urban Meyer, that's not by chance or coincidence. We can talk about the relationship with Alex Smith. Also, remember, the two players that started in that game went to Ohio State as well. So all of these things kind of meshing together. This is how we've seen formulas begin to happen. So I believe Urban Meyer is a real player in the possibility of being in Washington. And to your point about players, Dan, there's already some there that he chose.
Right.
So it could be one of those situations where they wanted those optics to get out and possibly have Urban Meyer continually to build to see what people's reaction would be.
Okay, that's interesting, and I would even take that point further and say if he wants to return to college, not this next year, but even the following year, if you continue to drive up your price with these optics, hey, the NFL's interested in me, why wouldn't USC or other schools like that really roll up the Brinks truck for Urban Meyer?
Yeah, there have been 3 coaches who've won championships on both levels. Jimmy Johnson, Barry Switzer, Pete Carroll. Maybe he's intrigued by the notion of being the 4th. Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports, highlights, and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.